Welcome to the DX Today podcast, where you get facts and no hype. I'm Ryan, and today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the biggest buzzwords of the last 12 months, Agentic AI.
And I'm Chloe. Ryan, it feels like everywhere we turn, from LinkedIn to tech conferences, people are talking about autonomous agents. The promise is that we're moving past chatbots that just talk to agents that actually do work. But the research we're looking at today suggests there's a lot more human effort involved than the marketing brochures want us to believe.
Exactly. We're discussing a report titled Beyond the Illusion of Autonomy, the Hidden Human Architecture of Agentic AI. It's a sobering look at the reality of 2024 and 2025. While the industry wants to sell us on set-it-and-forget-it autonomy, the technical data suggests we are entering a reliability plateau.
A reliability plateau? That sounds like a polite way of saying the tech is hitting a wall. Before we get into the why, let's set the stage. How did we get here? Because it wasn't that long ago that just getting ChatGPT to write a poem was considered a miracle.
Right. The report breaks this down into three distinct historical phases. Phase 1, back in 2022 and early 2023, was passive retrieval. This was your basic ChatGPT or Claude, single-turn request-response cycles. You ask, it answers. Then we moved to Phase 2, RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. That's where the AI could look at your specific documents to ground its answers, but it was still largely reactive.
And Phase 3 is where the agentic part comes in, right?
Precisely. According to IBM's 2025 Trends Report, we are now in the era of proactive systems. These are agents that perceive their environment, use tools like APIs and web browsers, and plan multi-stage workflows. They aren't just answering a question, they're trying to complete a mission.
But here's the catch. The report mentions the Gaia benchmark, the General AI Assistance benchmark. It shows a massive gap. A human can hit about 92% accuracy on these generalized tasks, but the top-tier agents, they're peaking between 65% and 74%.
That's a 20 to 30% gap, Chloe. And in the world of enterprise software, a 30% failure rate is an absolute non-starter. You can't run a billing department or a legal compliance team on a system that fails 1 out of every 4 times. That gap is where the human in the loop, or HIL, comes in. It's the secret sauce that's actually keeping these systems from collapsing.
Okay, let's talk about that collapse. There's a section in the report about the anatomy of the dirty secret, and it highlights something called cascading error propagation. I found this fascinating. Ryan, can you walk us through the math of why these agents fail as they get more complex?
This is the part that usually gets glossed over in the demo videos. Think of an agent's workflow like a chain. If an agent has a 90% success rate on any single step, which sounds pretty good, right? The probability of success for the whole task isn't 90%. It's the product of every step. According to Norix AI, if you have a 10-step task and each step is 90% accurate, your total chance of finishing the job correctly is only 34.8%.
Wait, let me stop you there. 34.8%? So as the task gets more sophisticated, the chance of it actually working drops to almost 1 in 3?
Precisely. It's what experts call the reliability tax. This is why, according to a recent archive study titled Measuring Agents in Production, or the MAP study, 68% of agents in the real world are capped. They aren't allowed to take more than 10 steps before a human has to step in and click approve or correct.
So the autonomous agent is really just a semi-automated assistant on a very short leash.
Exactly. We call it bounded autonomy, and this leads us to the ghost work economy. This is the part of the AI industry that people don't like to talk about. Behind these seamless interfaces is a global workforce of millions.
Right. I've seen this mentioned in Mary L. Gray and Siddharth Suri's work. These ghost workers are doing the microtasks, labeling images, ranking outputs for reinforcement learning from human feedback or RLHF.
And it's not just labeling anymore. Meta recently valued Scale AI at over $14 billion. Why? Because the most valuable product in the AI era isn't actually the code. It's high-quality, human-verified data. We are seeing humans manually correcting agent hallucinations in real time just to keep the systems viable.
It's interesting because the marketing says these agents are meant to replace human labor, but the economics suggest they're just repackaging it. The report mentions that for every dollar spent on an agentic AI subscription, companies are spending 1.5 to 3 times that amount on implementation and oversight.
That's a huge point. Deloitte and Monetizely have both noted that the total cost of ownership is skyrocketing because of the need for new roles. We're seeing the rise of AI orchestrators and human-in-the-loop supervisors. You might not need 10 entry-level clerks anymore, but you now need 3 high-paid engineers and a domain expert to watch the AI that replaced the clerks.
And it's not just about the cost, it's about the stability of the tech itself. I was shocked to see that 70% of regulated enterprises, we're talking banks, healthcare, insurance, are rebuilding their entire AI stacks every 3 months.
7 out of 10. Think about the sheer waste of resources there. Clean Lab AI found that because the underlying models, like the versions of ChatGPT or Claude, change so frequently, and because the orchestration layers are so brittle, companies can't find a steady state.
And then there's the planning and reasoning gap. We've all heard that GPT-5 or the next Claude will solve reasoning, but the SweBench Pro results tell a different story.
Right. SweBench measures how well an AI can fix real-world software bugs. When you move from short, simple bug fixes to what they call long-horizon enterprise development, which is what real software engineers do, the performance of even the best models drops below 25%. 25%? That's not a tool, that's a hobbyist project. It's due to context bloat and memory drift. As the agent works, it starts to lose track of the original goal. It gets distracted by its own previous steps. It's like a person who goes into the kitchen to get a glass of water, starts cleaning the toaster, realizes the toaster is broken, looks up how to fix toasters, and completely forgets they were ever thirsty. Without a human operator to reset the state or nudge it back on track, the agent just spins its wheels.
So if the ROI isn't there, the MIT NANDA initiative says 95% of enterprise Gen AI pilots have failed to deliver measurable ROI, why is everyone still rushing toward this? Because the potential is real, but the approach is changing. We are moving from the human-in-the-loop model to what the report calls XIL, expert in the loop. Expert in the loop. How is that different? It's a shift in philosophy. Instead of trying to build a machine that replaces a lawyer or a doctor, companies are building orchestrated workflows. These are structured environments where the expert human is embedded directly into the agentic loop to validate nuances. It's not about the AI doing the whole job, it's about the AI doing 80% of the raw data processing, while the expert in the loop makes the final 20% of high-stakes decisions. It's almost like the AI is the factory floor, but the human is the quality control inspector at the very end of the line.
Exactly. 4Gen AI released a white paper on this, arguing that by 2026, the industry will pivot away from the dream of autonomous agents toward these supervised frames. The goal is to prevent hallucination loops and ethical misalignment before they happen.
This seems like a much more mature way of looking at it. Instead of the AI is coming for your job narrative, it's more AI is going to require you to become an overseer of a very fast, but occasionally very confused digital workforce. Precisely. The competitive advantage won't go to the company that buys the most agents. It will go to the company that builds the most efficient interface for human-machine collaboration. If your humans can supervise 10 agents effectively, you win. If your humans are constantly cleaning up after one broken agent, you lose. You know, it reminds me of the early days of GPS. At first, people followed it blindly, sometimes driving into lakes because the map said there was a road there. Now we use it as a guide, but we're constantly looking out the windshield to make sure the road actually exists.
That's a perfect analogy. We're currently in the driving into the lake phase of agentic AI. The 2025 data from Archive and industry surveys is the reality check the market needed. So to wrap this up, if you're a business leader listening to this, don't expect autonomy to be free. Expect it to be expensive, expect it to require more human oversight than you planned, and expect to rebuild your tech stack every quarter for the foreseeable future. And most importantly, don't fire your experts. You're going to need them more than ever to catch the 30% of errors that could sink your business. The hidden human architecture isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system. Fascinating stuff. I think we've definitely burst the hype on this one, Ryan. That's what we're here for. For those who want to dive deeper, we'll have the citations in the show notes, including the Gaia leaderboards and the map study. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time on the DX Today podcast. No hype, just facts.